Hey guys, HW. It's midweek in Sydney. I'm going to be quite busy later in the week, so I thought I'd get out today while I had access to the car. We've only got the one car, and I don't get my hands on it too often, so I thought I'd make use of it today. What I'm planning to do is to get out to the southern tip of Sydney's eastern suburbs, which will take us through Matraville, Little Bay and Laperouse, and we're going to visit a couple of historical sites there. To start with, I'm going to pop the camera up on the car dashboard and talk you through a few suburbs as we get out there. But just remember, when you do come out to Sydney, I highly recommend you jump on one of the buses that heads out to Laperouse. So a 337 along Bunnerong Road, or maybe a 394 along Anzac Parade. It's, as you'll find out later in the video, it's quite an important spot for Sydney's history and Australia's history as well. So sit back and enjoy while I take you on a little drive first. And the first stop we're going to have is at Matraville, which is near and dear to my heart because it was another place in Sydney that I once lived. So let's get all of this out of the way now, because I know you're probably thinking, geez, HW's lived in a lot of different spots. So let me list them for you so that you know for future vids. So I lived in, my family lived in Maroubra, they lived in Matraville. We eventually settled in Coogee, so I lived in Coogee for quite a while and finished my schooling there. I myself lived in Melbourne for a couple of years. And I also lived in Lindfield for about 3 or 4 years, I think. And I also lived in Berowra for a really short time, or Berowra Heights, I should say. I think it was only around 6 months or something like that. So I've lived in a few different areas of Sydney, and then obviously Melbourne as well. So we're going to go to Matraville first. And when we get there, we're going to do a few little nostalgic things for myself first. So I hope you allow me to do that. And then we're going to go to a famous pie shop called House of Pie. And I'm going to grab myself a mystery bag there. So you'll have to suffer while I eat through that. And then we're going to get out to Little Bay and Laperouse and do a few sites out there. Some of them of Hollywood fame as well. So sit back, enjoy the car ride first, and then we'll start the walk when we get out there. All right, we're out on Anzac Parade at Kensington. We're just passing Peters of Kensington on the right-hand side there. Very famous retail outlet. It used to be the go-to place for Mother's Day gifts and Christmas gifts back in the day. It probably still is. Just looking at a sign currently across the road that says it's open 7 days. On the right-hand side here, where you see the light rail, going back in history, there was a tram route that ran from the city all the way out to Laperouse, over that same spot there, the middle of the road. And it wasn't until these red light rail carriages were constructed and completed over recent times that route was revived. Because it's mostly buses that we're passing now that have been the transport option for people out in the south of the Sydney's eastern suburbs. Just passing by the University of New South Wales now on the left hand side, and on the right side NIDA, which is the National Institute of Dramatic Arts. which is where a lot of famous Australian actors studied to become TV and movie actors. Just trying to think of some of the ones that have studied there. I think Kate Blanchett may have studied there. I think Toni Collette studied there. I've got a feeling maybe Mel Gibson as well, but I'm not sure. But there's a lot of actors that come through NIDA, or start off there anyway. Just passing by or passing through Kingsford now. Kingsford's really changed over the years. It used to be a real European area, so there was a lot of Greeks that lived around Kingsford. Probably still do, but there's a much larger Asian influence in Kingsford now. So a lot of the shops and restaurants along Anzac Parade here are Chinese, Malaysian and general Asian restaurant or businesses now. Just turning right here, just here, this used to be a massive roundabout. Do you remember the big roundabout that used to be here? That bordered, or the intersection of Gardeners Road and the Anzac Parade. It's long gone. I guess when the light rail came in, it was all changed around. I don't know whether you can see up at that blue building further up the road up there, but that's the famous South Juniors Club. Once upon a time, it used to have the most poker machines or slot machines in the Southern Hemisphere. I would expect some of the casinos have probably dwarfed that now in the Southern Hemisphere, but yeah, once upon a time had the most slot machines in the Southern Hemisphere. I think I had some drinks up there for my and dinner up there for my 18th birthday back in the day. I'm pretty sure I didn't win anything though on the slot machines. Alright, just turned into Bunnerong Road now. The right hand side here is Bunnerong Road, Daceyville, and on the left hand side is Bunnerong Road, Kingsford, as we pass the Daceyville Public School. I'm not sure whether I mentioned it before, but it's another stunning day in Sydney today. Clear blue skies. It's all happening. I'm trying to pick up my phone to quickly check the weather, but I better not do it while I'm driving along. I have to wait till I stop. Let's quickly stop behind this four-wheel drive up here and check the weather. There we go. So it's going to be 20 degrees Celsius today. And I think from the last video, what's that make it? I think it makes it around about, what, around about 66 or 67 Fahrenheit, something like that. But you get the picture anyway. Pull out again now. I haven't driven down this part of Anzac Parade for a long time, let me tell you. Now we're just at the tip of Pagewood, and there's the Pagewood KFC. That's been there forever, as long as I can remember anyway. They got some signs on there saying that it's closed for renovations. They probably need to make it a bit bigger. It's always been I don't think that it's ever been big enough to service the area, to be honest. On the right hand side there used to be a tobacco company, a pretty big tobacco company. I just can't remember the name of the business. But it's been knocked down and rebuilt for apartments at the moment. We're getting pretty close to Westfield, Eastgardens now, on the right hand side there. It's a fairly decent sized shopping centre. I think I've mentioned before, but I'll mention it again because I love rubbing it into the Americans. Westfield shopping centres started in Australia. The first Westfield shopping centre was in Sydney, and later expanded throughout the world. And I know that you have Westfields over there in America, and I know there's Westfield shopping centres in Europe as well. But the Australian family that owned Westfield sold out a number of years ago, the Lowy family. And I think there's a number of businesses now that own the Westfield shopping centres throughout the different continents around the world. That's an interesting little tidbit for you anyway. Geez, this place has changed. This is Heffron Park on the left hand side. Oh, that's the Rabbitohs High Performance Centre in there. I saw it on the news, but I hadn't seen it myself yet. It used to be a much smaller sporting complex, that one, but now it's massive. There's that field just there. That's home of the Matraville Tigers rugby league side. Never really supported them myself, even though I lived in the area. I was more into supporting the Southeastern Seagulls out at Malabar, who I also played for a while. I think we chose that team mainly on the colours. They wore the same colours as the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And here's Matraville. I remember a lot of these shops as a kid. I think I'm gonna park down Daunt Avenue, and then I'm gonna walk down the street and check out a few locations that I remember. Just wanted to start off on the corner here at Matraville. This corner here, this used to be where the post office was. It's now been turned into a retail and apartment block. That joint over there that's for sale, or mixed-use freehold, that was the Commonwealth Bank in Matraville. Where you got the Woolworths now. That used to be Flemings. There used to be Flemings grocery store. Oh look, there's still a hair joint there. Or hairdressers. All these shops here are new. Don't recognise them. Somewhere along here where this new apartment building here, there used to be a hardware store. It's long gone as well. Well, here we go. This was my local church as a child, St Agnes. Oh, what a shame. You used to be able to walk through there where that gate is up there. You used to be able to walk around the back and get into the car park that was around the back of the church. And there used to also be a side entrance into the church there. I can't believe it's not open. It used to always be open. You used to be able to get in there and have a look around. What a shame. Looks like it's all under construction, including the school. Oh, look at that. They've changed the name. It's called Sacred Heart Catholic School now. When I went to primary school here, it was called St Agnes. Wow, it looks very different though. Or parts of it anyway. That bit there where you can see the kids on the veranda, that's all. That's all still the same way it was when I was a kid. Very run down. So it's a good thing that they're redeveloping it. Wow, look at this. Where this big apartment block here is, just here with the tan bricks. This used to be the local Chinese restaurant. Shout out to William and his family. He used to own the Chinese restaurant there. What is it now? Chili Lime, some sort of sandwich shop. So we'll just quickly go back and have a look across the road here. One of these shops that I'm facing towards now, one of those was the local butcher's, and a bit further up there was a milk bar called the Rendezvous. The old Rendezvous. Just facing down towards House of Pie now, so we're going to go to that pie shop, grab a pie. That's 7-Eleven there. That's been there, geez, forever. That hasn't moved. Actually, that set of shops that I filmed before as well, there used to be a TAB in there as well. Across the road there, that set of shops over there, that used to be a video store back in the days when you used to have to go to the video store to grab a VHS tape to watch a movie of a night or on the weekend. Just over there. Oh, there it is, the House of Pie. Haven't been here for, jeez, can't remember how many years now. Let's go in there and have a look. Look at those delicious cakes there. I'm here to get a pie. Hey, have you got any curry pies? Do I get a curry pie? Didn't know there was water in there. Alright, I secured the curry pie. Now where are we going to eat it? I was hoping I'd be able to eat it on the wall of my old primary school, but it doesn't look like it's going to be possible. Be nice to sit in the sun. I might go across the road there and sit on that wall. Sit on the wall of the old 7-Eleven. Used to ride my skateboard down there and pick up a Slurpee back in the day. Just sitting in this sun here. So there she is. There's a delicious curry pie. Let's get into it. I'll try to film the first bite for you. Alright, can you hear me? Hope you can. Let me get this pie into my gob. Oh yeah. Delicious. Look. A delicious curry mystery bag. Delicious curry dog's eye. The good old Aussie pie. So I'll switch off here and rejoin you in the car. Alright, we're back in the car. We've finished at House and Pie. And of course, when I'm trying to pull out into the traffic, it looks like it's bloody grand final day or something. There's cars everywhere. Again, I hope you don't mind. I take this little nostalgic walk around my old suburb, or one of my old suburbs back in the day. Come on, ever gonna get out of here? There we go. Yeah, so I wanted to quickly just pause now while we're sitting in traffic in Matraville and mention what's important about Matraville apart from a place where I used to live. Matraville's named after a gentleman by the name of James Matra, who was on the voyage with Captain James Cook when Captain Cook discovered Australia. James Matra was actually American born. He was born in New York, ended up in England, and a bit of an adventurer, ended up coming out on Captain Cook's ship. He had some affiliations with English loyalists in America, and apparently back in the day, Captain Cook, Joseph Banks, who was the botanist on the voyage, and James Matraville walked through this area, surveyed it to see if it may have been a viable place to set up a colony. James Matraville later, and I didn't know this history. I thought I'd have a quick look this morning before I came out here, just in case there was something that I didn't know about, and I didn't know about that. It should have been, you know, why wasn't this taught at school? I'm a bit flabbergasted about it. But yeah, he was a loyalist, and he was going to try to set up a colony out here in Matraville to house American loyalists to escape the American revolutionaries once they took over the country and dispelled the English. So yeah, you learn something new every day. Just about to pass by Botany Cemetery here. I was going to stop off in Matraville, but it's become a housing development now. But there used to be a drive-in cinema in Matraville, back at those horse paddocks back there, and I was going to stop there, but a lot of the road was blocked off, so it's not giving me a real good view of it. So I might just pop the image in here instead, so you can see the old drive-in cinema that used to be at Matraville. Here we're just passing by on the right hand side the Botany Cemetery next to Botany Bay. I've got a few relatives buried in Botany Cemetery, including my father, grandfather and grandmother. So I come out here every now and then to pop sopping on the grave sites. Now we're starting to get into what's called Little Bay. And Little Bay borders Laperouse. And when we get down to Laperouse, I'll give you a bit of history on that one as well. So again, I might pop in a map here to show you exactly where I am right now. I'm like at the southern point of the eastern suburbs. And another thing that I learnt the other day that I didn't know about, the eastern suburbs extends over the whole of Botany Bay. So the whole entire Botany Bay belongs to the eastern suburbs. So even though there's other communities that are right on the foreshore of Botany Bay, like Kurnell and Cronulla and all of those, and Sans Souci and not Ramsgate, can't think of the name of it now, but all those suburbs over there that border the Botany Bay, it's actually the eastern suburbs that has control over Botany Bay. It's part of the eastern suburbs. So yeah, it's another thing that I learned recently. So just entering into the Laperouse Peninsula now. On the left hand side here, I don't know whether you can see it because I can't turn the camera. Maybe I can, I'll try to. But that little area in there with the red cast iron, corrugated iron, that's where they used to have snake shows back in the day for the tourists. So there was a guy that come out and give, and here's the mouth of Botany Bay here now. I might shut up now while I find a park, and then I'll give you a bit of history. Oh, that's a great park, mate. That guy's like parked over 2 spots. Clown. What about this one? This one's just as bad, but It's a smaller car, so maybe I can muscle over the top of them. Idiot. I'm going to change the battery and then I'll come back to you. So here's this snake pit where they do the displays of deadly Australian reptiles for the tourists. So just reading the sign over here, it's still operating. It says that it's Sundays from 1:30 p.m. and on public holidays. So there you go. So what I was going to say before about Laperouse was it's quite a historical part of Sydney as well, because it's just across the bay from where Captain Cook landed when he first discovered Australia for the Europeans. And it's also where another European expedition eventually set foot on land as well, and that was a French explorer by the name of Laperouse. He arrived in Botany Bay, I think, 4 days after the first fleet arrived. The first fleet were the English soldiers, seamen, convicts and people who first settled Australia. So this was after Captain Cook had first discovered it, and then it was back in when the first fleet came out in 1788 that they encountered Laperouse, or I think that's it anyway. I'm trying to remember the dates, but this is what Laperouse is named after. I read about this a couple of months ago now, because I was planning to come out here. And what else struck me about the story of Laperouse was he was quite impressed by James Cook, and that's why the expedition was called by King Louis at the time of France. There's some of the nice little beaches that are off the back of Laperouse. I think one of them is called Little Congy, if I remember right, but don't quote me on that. Goes a park ranger. It is part of the national parks down here, so they're looking after it. But back to Laperouse, I didn't realise his full story before. He went on to explore all the way into the Americas as well. I'm pretty sure I read that he sailed up the Californian coast all the way up into Canada and even Alaska, I think, as well. And might be mistaken, but I think he had, a few ports of call, places like San Francisco and such. But going back to the story of when he was down here in Botany Bay, as I said, he arrived 4 days after the first fleet arrived. And the English were quite surprised to see him, but they were hospitable and looked after them anyway before they left. But another thing I didn't know until I read about it was he disappeared. So during the after he left Sydney and Botany Bay, travelled up into the and I can't remember whether he went to America first and then went into the South Pacific, or whether he went to the South Pacific first and then America. But anyway, his fate was sealed in the South Pacific. He was killed by islanders. So, very similar story to his buddy James Cook, who obviously was ended in the Hawaiian Islands, as you know. So again, you've got this connection between Australia and America, having explorers and people associated with our two histories come together throughout the years. Also, there's a bit of a fashion shoot over here. What I'm doing is I'm trying to head towards Bear Island. Oh, look at that, the little bridge is open. Maybe we should go down there. Oh yeah, we might as well go down there. So what's significant about Bear Island here is it was turned into a fort in the 1800s. And you wouldn't believe who it was built for. It was built to defend against the Russians. So they were worried that Russia was going to invade back in the 1800s. And I don't think we're going to be able to get into the fort today, but there's a number of cannons that face towards the mouth of Botany Bay there. So back in the day, had the Russian fleet rolled in through the heads there, they would have fired off the cannons. Now this bridge that heads over to Bear Island and the fort, apparently it's well over 130 years old, this old bridge. And this is the side of the Hollywood movie that I promised earlier in the vid. This bridge, pretty sure Tom Cruise rides over on his motorbike at one stage in the movie anyway. It's Mission Impossible 2. And then other parts of the film are set inside the fort itself. If I can find some images of those various scenes, I'll whack them in the vid. But yeah, so this was the location for one of the scenes in Mission Impossible 2. John Woo film, starring Tom Cruise. You can see a decent part of the fort there now on the side there, the concrete building. You can do tours of Bear Island, but I don't know what times they're open. It's telling me on the sign up there that the CCTV's in operation 24 hours, 7 days a week. But it doesn't say anything about what days you can come and do the tour. Oh, there you go. It says tours operate Sunday 1:30, 2:30, 3:30 p.m. Here you go, buy tickets. So yeah, there you go. This is where it all happened. Mission Impossible 2, the fort built to fight the Russians off if they ever came this way. Laperouse, James Cook. I should probably point out as well. So Not this headland here, which is Bear Island, but the one across the water over there. That's Kurnell, and that's where Australia was taken for the Europeans by James Cook. Look at what those guys are fishing for, because it's very rocky around here. It would have been interesting coming ashore on these spots back in the ye old days with wooden boats. I assume they probably came ashore on the beach over there. But yeah, there you go, there's Bear Island. So as we leave Laperouse, just passing by the boat shed. So if you do come out here to have a look at Bear Island and have a look at Botany Bay and look across the water to Kurnell to see where the history of European Australia started, remember that you can come down to the boat shed over there to have something to eat or have a coffee. And there's a couple of shops up the road here as well. This place up here that has the yellow for lease sign up, that used to be a very famous seafood restaurant called Denny's. I believe it's currently closed. I think another victim of the Pando, but I read that the old owner is looking at making a comeback at some stage. So be interesting to see if it comes back, because that used to be the place to go for seafood in Sydney. There was a bunch of celebrities that used to come down here and scoff into the fresh seafood at Denny's. Up on the hill up here, I don't know whether it's still there, but there used to be an Aboriginal community. I assume it's still there. Set up like a little bit of almost like a little bit of a reservation. Very famous breeding ground, Laperouse, for fantastic sportsmen and women coming from the indigenous people that live in this area. A lot of famous South Sydney Rugby League players came from Laperouse. You got the Longbottom families, Alex Johnson, the current South's champion winger, played for Laperouse in the juniors. Got to get my bearings here. I want to head down a different part of Anzac Parade. I was going to head past Long Bay Jail on the way. So this green medium strip that you see over here, that was all that housed the old tram lines when the trams used to come out all the way out to Laperouse. Laperouse was the last operating tram in Australia. Oh, sorry, in Australia. In Sydney, I should say. Oh, you might as well quickly go down this roundabout here and I'll show you the site where the old Prince Henry Hospital used to be. Just over here on the right hand side, that was all part of Prince Henry Hospital, which has now been redeveloped into all these apartments. At one time, Prince Henry Hospital housed a leper colony. So there used to be people with leprosy housed in Prince Henry Hospital. And this is going back a long, long time though. I'm pretty sure this building here looks fairly new, but I'm pretty sure that building there was part of the hospital, and there was definitely wards and beds in there, but I could be wrong. Let's turn around. So Prince Henry Hospital looking very different these days. If you want to look up yourself in the history, like look up Prince Henry Hospital, Malabar, you'll probably find a little of a history about Prince Henry Hospital. There's a lot more roundabouts here than I remembered. Over on the left hand side over here, that's the suburb of Chifley. Hope you can still hear me on the microphone. I just realised I had the microphone a bit higher up than what I wanted to. So we've almost drawn level with the jail, Long Bay Jail. Just drawing level with it now, but there's a lot more greenery in this medium strip than what I remembered. We might have to turn around to get a shot of it. There you go. So I'll just film out the window. Here's a view of Long Bay Jail over there. I couldn't get a park like close to the other part of the jail because there must be a hell of a lot of people working in there, because there's not much parking around here. But that's one part of the old part of Long Bay Jail. Long Bay Jail was home to a lot of colourful, dangerous criminals in the day. Still is, I suppose. But it's I don't think it's really one of the main jails anymore. I think some of the other ones have taken over, like Silverwater and Goulburn. But don't quote me on that. It still seems to be pretty busy, so maybe it is still one of the main jails, I'm not sure. So yeah, as we look back over at Long Bay Jail, I'll end the video here. Thanks very much for coming on the skirt around the southern part of Sydney's eastern suburbs, Matraville, Laperouse, Bear Island. I'll see you in the next vid. The video is over.